Buenos días. so I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a brief tour of my home, since I'm in it all the time and do a lot of videos and stuff like that from here. That way you guys just teach you a little bit about me, who I am. So I currently, and have for a better part of 5 years, been doing van life with my son. And this is one of the renditions of the van. Built it out, so freaking I'm gonna be climbing in a little bit, but how do I turn the camera around? I'll have to do it this way. So obviously I have to have a hangboard, because fitness is something that's been a part of my life for forever, and I like to be able to live and do adventures. So gotta do my pull-ups every morning. Come in, speed bag. I like to box, and so I like to be able to keep up on the boxing. Board, lights, skylight, little heat pump, fucking inverter. This area all folds out and becomes the bed. It's kind of a weird setup. I'll give you a little demo, I guess, in a few, maybe. But yeah, so like some I've learned, this is probably the 4th different build out I've done in here. Just because, when you're in a place for a while, one, you get bored with it being the same, but then 2, you learn things that work better and stuff. So, I got definitely plugins, little diesel heater that's underneath, AC and heat too, but I use the diesel heater. I like it a lot better. And the AC, I've never really needed it. My little electrical panel back here, fucking got a lot of, I'll show you the electrical panel. Is not really anything super important, but it's fucking a lot of shit going on inside of it. See, little electrical panel. I got obviously some solar charging. I got like shore power, that's where you can plug into 110 volt, or a 30 amp or a 50 amp if you want to. Got alternator charging, which is clutch, especially out here, because even sometimes when there is sunshine, you don't end up getting a lot of sun. But obviously another board, that's my normal go-to board that I surf with, just because I like it. That's what I'm stoked on. Obviously climb shoes, little sink, bathroom back there, little kitchenette, stuff like that. This is for my dirty laundry that goes through and stuff like that. Windows, I like light. And then like this area, I kept it wide enough just because I like to do my daily workout. And yeah, fitness is important. And cubbies, so like I've found that cubbies like this work way better than drawers inside a van, just because in the drawers in a van, everything slides back and forth and stuff like that, and then they pop open, and then I got holding tank for fresh water underneath here, holding tank for bathroom starts there and goes underneath the van, and then I have another one under here. But yeah, pretty simple, kind of cool setup. Oh, whiteboard. I have to keep myself on track, otherwise I don't get shit done. I get too many ideas and I'm like, yeah, but pretty simple. I've been living inside this, for the greater part of 5 years, and I've always liked smaller living, pretty much my whole life, just because when I was younger, I used to always, in my room, I spent a lot of time in my room, so I always used to organize it around and do different things like that and work out, just because, what else was I gonna do? And so I got comfortable living in small spaces. And then even my first apartment in Hawaii was, it was the coolest thing ever. I used to skate past this person's house all the time when I was going to catch the bus to work in town. So lived in essentially North Kihei area, and then I would longboard down and catch the bus into Kalui because I worked at Starbucks. That was my first official job. and I worked at the Starbucks at Queen Kabumana Mall, and it was dope. I loved it. It was one of my favorite jobs, just because it was cool. Got to meet people and drink caffeine all day long. I like that. But yeah, my first spot though that I rented was the dopest. So I skated past this person's house every day, and one day this lady was working on the yard, and I was like, "Hey, are you the owner of this place?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dope." And so how it was set up is there was like a 3-bedroom house right here, and then there was the garage, and then a staircase that went up, and then above it was the little ohana, and but next to the staircase was a little shed, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing with this shed?" And she's like, "Well, it's my tool shed." I'm like, "Well, you want to rent it out to me?" She's like, "Sure." But it was dope. So it was about as wide as the van, actually. So it was just under 6 foot. I could touch the walls with my hands. And then it was 12 foot long. And then there was a little bathroom under the stairs. And then in the back, there was an outdoor shower in the backyard, which was super cool. And yeah, and we had like fruit trees, like avocado trees. We had weed growing in the yard. Funny thing is, I know I look like a stoner, but I have never been a good stoner. I get way too paranoid and I just sleep for forever, so I choose other things. But it was the dopest place. And it was cool because like I used to want to be a naturopathic when I was younger because I wanted to create my own super vitamin. So I studied just anything I could get my hands on and stuff like that. And the place was simple. She didn't care what I did with it because like when I first got it, it was just a concrete slab. And so for the first like maybe 6 weeks, I just slept on the concrete slab in my sleeping bag, and I had it over my head just because like there were so many cockroaches. You could just hear them crawling around everywhere at night. And then after I'd saved up enough money, I got a thing of carpet from Lowe's. Just rolled the carpet out across the ground, and then eventually the next thing I got was just an outfolding table, and then I got a rice cooker, and then a mini fridge, and it was the dopest. I've always been a bad cook and simple at eating, and so like my normal meals, for example, were definitely rice, and so I'd cook the rice and sit on the side, then fry up my Spam inside my fucking rice cooker, and then I'd put the rice back in, and then I'd add ranch and hot sauce and stir it up, and then tear up tortillas if I had them and put them in there. The other thing that I would cook in my rice cooker was, I'd put peanut butter in there too sometimes. That was actually pretty good. Peanut butter, rice, and hot sauce was pretty solid. And then, what else? Oh, I do oatmeal and peanut butter. Those were like my main meals for the better part of 3 years. Just because working at Starbucks, you didn't make that much money. Back then, I think it was like $6.47 an hour. And then, so you had to live within reason. So I got comfortable living in small places. And eventually, I ended up moving to Washington just because my son's mom moved here back in 2014, and so I followed just because, like, what the hell else am I gonna do? So I followed so I could be a part of little dude's life. And after, moving here, it's way more expensive than it was living in Maui, believe it or not. And for example, I eventually upgraded apartments in Maui, and I was living up the beach from a little surf spot and stuff like that, and I had a 1,000 square foot studio. What was dope is it was like, separated off in the center by Chinese closing doors and stuff, but the little place that I lived in had a pool and a library and whatnot and a hot tub, and so it was dope. And I was literally like half a block up from the Cove. It's a little beginning learning surf spot, but sometimes in the summer there's some fun waves. And for that spot though, it was $1,000 a month for everything included. Not bad. And then when I followed out here, so like my son's mom, and she moved out here like the beginning of May in 2014, and then I ended up following, but I couldn't come until 2 days before Thanksgiving 2014. And I remember because I got off the plane and it was fucking wet, rainy / snowy outside, and all I had was slippers. I had sweatpants, fucking hoodie, and then my raincoat that I would wear because I worked on boats over there, and so I'd wear a raincoat out there in the mornings when it was cold and whatnot. But yeah, anyways, long story short, so I moved out here and rent was so much more expensive, and I was like, dude, fuck that. I don't want to pay rent for a place that I'm not going to live in, and I didn't think I was going to be here more than a couple months. So long story short, 11 years later, I'm still here. But I bought a sailboat. So me and little dude lived on a sailboat for quite a few years. And then after a while of living on a sailboat, that was like my favorite way to live because I'd wake up, you're on the water, you know, and it's just like different kind of peacefulness. And I also built my first couple surfboards on that sailboat. I'll share that later down the line. But yeah, I lived on the sailboat with him for a while, and then after some time, you know, we got talking about other things and wanting to go to somewhere else and move somewhere. And you know, he wanted to try van life, and I'm like, yeah, what the heck? I'm always, you know, it's intrigued me. I've wanted to try it too. And so went around looking for quite a while and ended up, you know, doing my research and getting a 2006 Dodge Sprinter. This thing didn't actually run at first when I got it, and so it took me a while to figure it out. So it was used as an HVAC van from this company and stuff like that, but they were having issues with it to where it would start and then it'd just die, and then eventually it just wouldn't start anymore. And so I got this thing towed to Mercedes first, but they wouldn't work on it because it's in a Dodge body. So then I towed it to Dodge, and then they couldn't work on it because it's a Sprinter's engine, or a Mercedes engine. And then I took it to a Sprinter shop, and they couldn't figure it out either. And so I was just like, all right, well, I got myself a project. And I was like, man, it ran at one time. And so I ended up figuring out a way to get this thing running. And yeah, what I ended up doing for it is there's you know, because yeah, it had power, but there was never any ignition start. And I went through like every forum, went through so many different things, replaced everything in line with the starter and everything like that. Mercedes is complicated because they have a high-speed data talking system called CAN bus, which talks between all the electrical components. Why? Because they like to be complicated. And so what I ended up doing essentially is just hot wiring my van so that way I could start it every time. But there was like a sequence of things that I had to do first in order to turn my key, because if I didn't do that, it would lock out my van, and that was so embarrassing. Like, I locked out my van in ferry lines, like trying to get off the boat, trying to get on the boats, and like it takes a few minutes to reset so I can retry it again. But I ended up figuring that out, and then I've done a couple builds inside this thing, but I figure give you guys a little bit of a background about this. The next adventure, treehouse. I've always wanted to live in a treehouse, and so that's gonna be the next thing. God, it's cold. Just jumped in the water and fucking gonna climb a little bit, but it feels like fall already and winter. It's a pretty state out here, but there's a lot of it's a long season to wait to get back to summertime. So I got like 6 more years, actually more like 5 years, and my little dude's 18. And then I don't know, thinking about picking up a sailboat and then heading to towards Indo, just because there's a lot of waves that I want to surf and stuff like that. And then either I'm going to build a treehouse out there, or there's a spot I've been scoping out here that I might build a treehouse for now, just to, you know, get some practice building a treehouse. But yeah, it's a little van. This is where I spend a lot of time driving around. I put about 100,000 miles a year on this, so if that gives you an idea of how much I drive. I do a lot of things, so I'll start bringing you guys along for a lot of the adventures. The surfing adventures, I got to figure out how to do that well, just because I like to surf a lot of places that are low-key and try to keep them as low key as possible and stuff like that. So I gotta figure out a way to be able to get some footage of surfing. But yeah, we'll see. Work in progress. Anywho, I'm gonna climb.